Welcome everybody. This is the Kubeflow trainer and Katib call on 4th of February. As always, we're going to record this call and publish on YouTube, and we follow the CNCF code of conduct. So just before we get started, as always, like any new people here on the call who just want to say hello, want to introduce yourself to the community.
Yeah. So, hey, hi everyone. I'm Anish, and this is my first community call. Uh, yeah, to learn more about uh, the Katib project, and I was going through some issue. That will be the part of discussion today. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for joining us. Anyone else want to say hi? Feel free to unmute, use chat or just unmute yourself if you want to introduce yourself to the community. Otherwise, we'll get started. All right, so I think we have two topics to talk about. Again, like if you have any additional items, feel free to propose them to the agenda. I think like the most important one, like we have few proposals we should talk today, and also before we jump to this, I probably want to talk about breaking changes. Just give me one moment. I will share my screen. Second. Right. Yeah, so I guess like, probably, yeah, I guess like since Yuki might join like in a couple of minutes, we can maybe start with other items first. So like for the breaking changes, we need to kind of figure out what we can do for the release for 2.2, which we need to do before March. So the timeline for the release, and make a note here. So trainer 2.2 release deadline is March 20th. So I guess like from my perspective, we should, as we mentioned before, we should make the first RC around mid-February timeframe or maybe end of February. It really depends on the ongoing features. So I kind of have a couple of questions. So I know so there is work going on to support metrics, right? The cap that Rob was started before. I don't see he's on the call right now, but do we know if this can be completed before end of February? Um, I mean, like since you've been working with him on this proposal, um, on
Yeah,
the metrics.
the last time I checked, he was planning to work on it. I can double check with him.
Yeah, it would be really nice to, finalize the work like around, at least have, working in progress PR in February so we can review it and
Yeah,
merge.
yeah, I agree.
Um, yeah, so let's maybe target, so for train job metrics. Yeah, so let's target like mid-February, like so we can do reviews and merges because I think this definitely should be in 2.2. I think other things around Jax I also need to spend time. So I know Thomas actually take over this PR and we can complete it. So this is great. Like I think we have a new Jax runtime support here, which we also need to take a look. And I know he addressed all the comments I added to the previous previous PR we had from other contributors. Yeah, so let's review this. Um, and I guess also like the Flux integration, right, that Vanessa is working on, we have right here. So I know it was some recent change to refactor this PR, so maybe we should also take a look at the changes to reuse the pod sets and the correct implementation of the runtime framework. So it would be great to also have this, like the Flux support into the two, which you can release as part of, like as part of March release. So any other, I know we have like a few other pending caps and proposals we want to include into the two, like XG Boost, for example, and also the like the TTLs and the other breaking changes we should talk about maybe at the end of this call. Um, anything else we need to, like keep the lights on and review before, like prioritize in terms of PRs? Yeah, so in that case, again, let's maybe apply the milestone if you think we're missing something, and we can, like just track it as a milestone to the two to make sure, like we align with the items we want to include it, release it in March for this. Yeah, go ahead, Tarek.
Isn't a Spark client also part of the 2.2 release, or is it like a separate? Just wondering.
Yeah, SDK is separate. So we do release SDK separately and Spark Operator also separately. So our plans, I think, release SDK in a couple of weeks once we merge the Spark Connect PR. And I guess like your Spark, like your models that you're working on in Spark Operator, we can refactor this afterwards. So I think I will ask Shahar to refactor his PR in, like to reuse your basically Python package and in the modules, or we can do this in the next release. We can do this refactor after I have initial support for Spark Connect. Um, but this is
Okay.
unrelated to trainer release overall. Yep.
Yeah, this is makes sense. Yeah, this is not as
All right. Okay, I think let's move on then. So in that case, let's maybe quickly talk about this new proposal that we're working on for the checkpointing. So, Redson, do you want to give a quick overview for this?
Yeah, sure. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
Cool.
Let me see if we have permissions. Yeah, you should be able to share actually.
Okay, I think it works.
All
So
right. Yep.
yeah, we have been working with Andre on this, essentially discussing how we can integrate checkpoint restore with train jobs. And one of the challenges that we are trying to solve here is that, for example, when you use the suspend functionality for train jobs, what actually happens is the pods in a job set are essentially terminated, deleted. And then when you when you try to resume these jobs, essentially the workloads are starting from scratch. So, for example, if you're training a model or if this is a long-running workload, then you're going to lose. Essentially, users are going to use a lot of state and they have to restart from scratch. And this is essentially what the checkpoint restore functionality solves. And this is something we have already enabled in Kubernetes. So you can checkpoint restore containers within a pod, and this functionality allows you to save the runtime state of the workload before you terminate the pod. And then when you resume essentially the workload, you can resume from this checkpoint so that you don't have to lose the state when you use the suspend resume functionality. And I was looking through the source code. I will try to share. So in general, the workflow is very simple. So what we currently have is essentially a Boolean that is suspending the jobs. And what we have to do is we just need to create a checkpoint before we do the suspension. The suspension will delete the pods. The checkpointing functionality will preserve the runtime state just before they're being deleted. And then during restore, instead of creating the pods from scratch, we can just restore them from the checkpoint. But this is just a proposal, and it would be great if you have any comments or feedback on this idea.
Yeah, I think just to add on this, I think we've been brainstorming, with Ralston around how we can enable checkpointing with train job API. So I guess like we've been thinking about, because also Kubernetes community is working on pods API integration in upstream before we, and like I think they're also working to expose this from Kube API server, this checkpointing API. So we try to see how we can get like some sort of MVP value for our customers, so they can benefit from checkpointing in suspend semantics. And I think like the idea is like very simple. Like we can have this under feature flag, and if feature flag is enabled, we're always going to checkpoint the state of the GPU of the GPU basically, or using CRYO, and then begin to like when the job is resumed, we're going to resume the process from that state.
Yeah,
Any
and
questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I see that Antonin is here, and I was just wondering if, because I know that Antonin used to work on this as well, and I was just wondering if he has any comments.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Anthony, if you're talking. You're on mute.
Yeah, no, sorry, I've been distracted, and I didn't got the last part of the discussion.
I guess the main point is that we're trying to integrate the checkpoint restore functionality with the essentially job suspension, so that we can create a checkpoint immediately before the jobs are being suspended, before the pods are deleted. And then when we resume, essentially we resume from these checkpoints. And then we can add something like a Boolean file called resumable that will essentially enable this functionality. And Andre can also clarify.
Yes. So we try to have this under feature flag, and we try to always checkpoint the state of the Linux process, GPU process, if the job is suspended. This is the rough idea.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you see how would you see that it for training distributed training job? I know that Radostin, you've been researching how to synchronize the checkpoint. Is it something you've looked already, or?
Yeah. So we have a working group in the Kubernetes community, so
Okay.
we're working on this. Yeah.
Yeah, I need probably to catch up on that. And how has it been progressing, that part? Like to because the last time I checked, I remember. So for example, to trigger the actual container checkpointing, you had to call the kubelet directly. And I remember you guys were looking at making it a API server API, or is it something that's in the work, or
Yes.
just for
So
my
actually,
own?
Google integrated this functionality in the Google Kubernetes engine. So now, if you use Google Cloud, you can use this checkpoint restore functionality, and they have different CRDs that can be used for that. And then with the open source Kubernetes, it's we are currently defining the KEP proposal that will essentially implement something similar. And then NVIDIA also have their own implementation called Shrek, checkpoint restore in Kubernetes, which is kind of doing the same thing. But yeah, essentially we have several different implementations, and we are trying to define a standard way of doing that.
Okay, cool.
Do we? Go
Just
ahead.
last question. So is there a need for distinguishing the start of, well, the suspending and the suspended state? I don't know if that makes sense. Like, but is it good enough what we have today, like the single boolean and the suspended, or there is a need for something before that, so that you make sure that the pod are not deleted prior to completing the checkpoints? Is it something that's already handled, or is there any gap there?
Yeah, I mean, I think for today it was more like getting initial feedback on the idea, and then the
Okay.
next step
Yeah.
will be to create a proof of concept.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I guess the question. So a couple of questions actually. So the distributed one that Antonio was asking, actually the kubelet call. So before we have this API, we need to call kubelet directly from a train job controller, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we have different ways of doing that, but yeah.
Are there any problems we see, like, to doing this, to do this initially in the initial POC under feature flag?
I don't think so. I mean, from my understanding, it should be fairly straightforward to implement, but
Okay.
yeah, I'll try to do that and we can discuss it.
Yeah, definitely. Because I guess, like, are there any additional, security restrictions we should add to the controller, right, to be able to call the kubelet API?
I mean,
Or
I have to double check, to be honest.
okay, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
sounds good.
that's one point like behind my question. Like I vaguely remember you have to have the admin certificates or something like that, no, to call the kubelet, but something to double check. Yeah.
Yeah, but some people deploy daemon set and then they expose an API that is used for that.
Yeah.
So I think Google, they use like something called checkpointing agent that is running on every node. But yeah, there are different ways of doing that.
I think the question, like, I mean, the question is for us as maintainers, like, do we want to enable this functionality, under feature flag, so we can get initial user feedback and, before Kubernetes core has an official API? Because, like,
Yeah.
Antonio, like, just for context, I've been on, like, joining this working group checkpoint restore calls, and, we're doing some work there, but it might take some time for this
Yes.
API to
Yes.
coordinate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, to me, in my opinion, definitely it should be under a feature flag until because, for example, on our side downstream,
mhm.
we could not just enable it because so a feature flag is I think a good idea because it's still enabled to iterate on the functionality and to demonstrate, and people get familiar
Yep.
and can try it. But before productizing it, we will need to make sure all those aspects, security, etc., they are properly addressed. But I understand. Yes, you're right. It's going to take time because there are lots of PCs and standardizing everything is naturally taking time. So yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine, I mean, if Kubernetes community will decide to graduate, it might take, like, at least a year
Yeah,
because,
true.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
still, it's useful to demonstrate the functionality,
Yep,
and it has
I
to be
agree.
demonstrated so people understand the value. But yeah, no, a feature flag is a great
Mhm.
idea too. Yeah.
I think so two questions. So with distributed checkpointing, like, do you think, Rasin, we can actually enable it already, the support for distributed checkpointing, with
Yeah, so
coordinator? Hmm.
the only difference between checkpointing a single container and checkpointing multiple
Hmm.
containers is that you need to coordinate the checkpoint, and
Yep.
we do that essentially at crew level. So essentially, we synchronize the crew instances with this crew coordinator project.
Hmm.
So yeah, this is something that we can already do. The only thing is we need to know what essentially containers we need to synchronize, essentially the identifiers of the containers. But yeah,
Yep.
this is kind of what we're going to do during the proof of concept.
And another concern, you tell me if that's a valid one or not, but it's the storage. The last time I checked, if I remember it correctly, the checkpoints are written by the kubelet on the host storage disk. And I don't know if that's something you guys are looking at or not. If there are other alternatives like writing them in other places, like rather than on the host disk, because it generally host disk, they are not that you don't have that many, that the size generally is constrained, and it's like the same issues with concern with using MTD or volume or any kind of volume that are provisioned on the host disk storage disk space. You may starve the, or what's the name, like disk pressure um, issues.
Yep.
Yeah. Essentially, the way NVIDIA and Google have implemented this is they have different storage types. So you can use different types of storage to save the checkpoints. I think essentially what they support today is volumes like PVC
Mm, yeah,
and
that'd be great. Yeah, yeah.
OCI images. Or essentially, you can use
Well,
the
yeah. I see.
image. Yeah,
OCI, an OCI artifact, you mean, or something like that?
yeah. Essentially, a container image that has
Yeah,
annotation, and then you can recognize it as
yeah.
checkpoint.
So like, and where, so I think so our rough idea was to, and we've actually been discussing with Radisson a little bit about this. So image, it is a mutable image right now in job set. And the trick is there, like how we're going to restore, like where we're going to store the checkpoint after Creo will, will have a dump of the process. So I guess the idea is to use the same image, right, as we initially used for train job submission, correct? Um,
Yeah, so this
yeah.
is during restore,
Mhm.
essentially to
Mhm.
use the checkpoint during restore, to
Okay,
use
and
the
where are we planning to store a checkpoint? Do we have anything in the cap defining it?
Not at the moment. I haven't defined this yet.
Okay.
This is also what we're discussing in the working group as well.
Like for us to have initial POC, any thoughts like, do we want to just, put it, push it under the local image in the node and make it available? Like, what do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah,
this is what we currently have. So essentially, we modified the current implementation to automatically build an OCI
Okay.
image when you create a checkpoint.
and yeah, for the POC under the feature flag, we can, I mean, we can, as long as there is an API path where you can demonstrate the functionality, that's fine.
Mhm.
But just on the storage, for example, if I understand it correctly, if it's stored locally on the host storage, you have to make sure that the pod, when they resume, when the job resume, they are scheduled on the same exact node, and so that kind of constraint. So I don't know how much we would need to automate or enforce that at the job level with node affinity or stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess we can discuss next time. But
Yeah,
essentially,
sure.
OCI images is something we can push to a registry and then pull them on a different node. Or if we have a shared storage between the nodes for checkpoints, we can use the shared
Yeah.
storage. I guess these
Mhm.
are the options that we have.
But in the current implementation, we will just use the same image we already have in a train job before suspension, right?
Yeah, essentially the idea is that if you want to suspend the
Mhm.
job set, you don't have to
Yep.
lose the state of the pods. You can just suspend them and then
Okay.
resume them. So,
But
for
in that case,
example,
yeah, good, sorry, good.
if you want to preempt the current job so that you can run something else and then you can resume
Mhm.
them, essentially you can use the checkpoint restore functionality. I think this is the
I see.
main thing that we want to demonstrate.
Okay, and so in that case, we cannot use image pool policy always, right? Because when pod will be resumed, we don't want for, like for to pull the new image from registry, right? We want to take the image in the node which is already there, right? Which we
Yeah,
updated.
yeah.
Okay.
Essentially, this is
Okay. Okay.
just for the proof of concept to show that we can actually use
Mhm.
the checkpoint restore functionality, and then for distributing the checkpoints across different nodes is kind of a separate problem that we're going to solve.
Yeah, so in that case, image pool policy always should not be set, right? Because then we don't want to, because like, so what I'm trying to say, when train job is unsuspended, right, job set will create new pods, and these pods will try to pull image from registry by default. If I have image pool policy always, we don't want them to do so. Just want to reuse, we just want to reuse the image which is already on the node, right?
Yeah,
um yeah,
it should
makes
be
sense.
already on the node. I think, yeah, I think there is a value something like if present. I don't remember
Yeah,
what was
yeah,
the.
yeah, yeah. If present on never as well, yep, that's right. um All right. So I think so one more question. Do we want to, so in this POC kind of implementation, do we need to have a ability to opt out from this feature? Um,
I think it should be enabled, not by default. Essentially, we can once we confirm that it works, we can see what is the feedback from users as well. But essentially, it should be an
yeah,
optional thing. So in the document that I shared, I have something called resumable. Actually, yeah, and this resumable true.
I see. What do you mean by resumable true?
Just to enable checkpointing, maybe you can use checkpoint or checkpointable or
Yeah, yeah.
something else.
So I think this is what we need to figure out, right? Because like my idea was to not introduce initially any API and just have a feature flag enabled in the config map. And when feature flag enabled, we will always do checkpoints when suspend is enabled, right?
Yeah, makes sense. I think we have to check if crew is installed and we can actually do the
Yeah.
checkpoint. Yeah.
And this should be part of, validation/installation scripts instructions we give to user. So my question is like in the initial POC, if we have this functionality without any API on the train job side and runtime side, like do we need to have a ability to, to opt out from this feature, even if feature flag is enabled? Yeah, I think this is something we can talk on. Okay, yeah, go good.
Yeah, I guess we can discuss it. We can create a proof of concept and
Okay,
then we can
yeah.
figure out how we can disable this if necessary.
Makes sense. And I think another high level like question like to you, like Antonio as well, like do we want to have a one big cap for, enable a checkpointing for train job so we can, add more features there gradually when we have, other part of implementation being supported, or how do you want to move forward with this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I don't know, I would create a cap for more that functionality, which is like container checkpointing. I mean, checkpointing based on container checkpointing, if that makes sense. On your point on well, obviously we're gonna put it on behind the feature flag, but then the question of opt-in, opt-out, I don't know, maybe, well, we can discuss that in the cap, but having a, it might be that there is a need for configuration per job, like because maybe, I don't know, like, yeah, so some sort of configuration for that functionality that might be useful to surface in the train job, might be.
Yep.
And then my point is it might be that there is a way to opt in, opt out per job. Why not?
Yep.
No, I was thinking as I was speaking, like, is that functionality going to be only for, triggered during the suspend resume, or do we think that it's useful, like for example, to periodically trigger it, and because
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
you see.
Yeah, I
Actually,
guess
so yeah, go first.
spot instances are kind of one of the common examples where people want to run training on spot instances, and then you might want to periodically create a checkpoint so that. And then there are other features like memory tracking and essentially features that can optimize the checkpointing mechanism. But yeah, we probably integrating this with the spend functionality is kind of easy, like a starting point, and then later we can extend this to fault tolerance with periodic checkpointing.
Exactly, yeah, fault tolerance.
I also want to add like one of the uniqueness we have once when Rob implemented this metric support. Like this is no any other controller in Kubernetes actually have this feature.
No.
Like once we have the metric support and the progress support, we can dynamically understand, like when we need to do checkpoints, right?
Exactly.
Because on all other, CRDs, users is responsible to define the time, right? And we can do this, based on this metric status as well. Idea.
And actually, this is great. And we can discuss that, but I still wonder exactly where that should be implemented. Should it be within the controller, for instance, for us, like in the trainer controller, or should it be an external controller that is able to actually, as you said, Andre, like some sort, be able to monitor what's going on in the runtime and perform action and the checkpoint. So, for example, they would watch a train job. So, as you said, periodically, maybe that controller sees like, okay, it has reached epoch.
Yes.
And externally, and same for the suspend. Actually, you could like just see that, and so just maybe it's obvious for you that it should be in the trainer, but or let's say to generalize in each workload controller. Or should it be a centralized checkpointing operator or controller that is able to?
Yeah, I think we can definitely talk about it later. Like, I think there are a lot of, potential extensions here, and I think all this work and definitely will play nicely together. This is why I'm, really exciting for like the ops work to push this forward, because I think we can do many things.
Yeah, I sent one link in the chat. So this is to Google's documentation. So they have essentially two ways of triggering a checkpoint, and this is essentially the second one. So they have this. Andre, if you scroll up.
Oh, yep.
essentially this proc/proc gvisor checkpoint is essentially an interface that you can just write number one, and then this will trigger the checkpoint. So essentially, at the end of an epoch, the application will write one, and this will create a checkpoint. This is what they have implemented.
And that's the way the job trigger the checkpointing. But the checkpointing, what is it that does it? Like, is it what process is actually doing the? Is it in the workload itself, or it's something external?
Yeah, it's supposed. I think the idea is to be inside of the workload. So, for example, if you have a PyTorch job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So basically application triggered, not like, the controller triggered, right? It's like, still application is responsible to,
So
have
it's
this done.
application trigger there,
Yeah.
but
And they're
what
watching for
does
this file. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a hands up. Go ahead.
Thank you. So one question is for this attached Google Cloud documentation. So do we need to mount container or gvisor or whatever container runtime system the process to the container or pod?
Yeah, I was discussing this with different people. So this implementation of gvisor is actually not open source, so it's specific to Google Cloud. We can't use it, but I also discussed how we could implement this with other container runtimes in runc and Cryo containerd. So we still have to figure out how to do that, how to implement this type of interface. But this is kind of the idea that Google have.
So you mean, so if we want to support, for example, containerd, we need to extend containerd CLI interface or what row level, runtime level interface?
Yeah, essentially, this is what we do in the Cryo project, the checkpoint restore in user space. We contribute to different container runtimes to essentially enable the checkpoint functionality, and then later we can use it in, for example, Kubeflow.
I see. Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, I think that is primary barrier to introduce this feature to production, I guess, because maybe some platform and class administrator don't want to mount system level process to the user container, right? For security or whatever reasons.
Yeah, this is part of the container runtime. So in this case, gvisor is creating this interface, but in the case of runc and containerd, we have to figure out how to implement it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the runtime dependency, definitely we should talk about it more. And like we need to figure out, what work Creo is doing, like what kind of, requirements for users to start using this feature. But I think we can definitely talk about this, limitations initially. So, I just want to, shall we move on? Because I think like we have a plan, I guess, initially. I guess like let's start a small cap. I think the suspend idea is great one to just get started and get initially a feedback, and then, expanding to support other things, and maybe, establishing the API might be something we can explore in the future, right? Especially when Kubernetes is moving towards, pod level checkpointing, right? How we can integrate there. All right. So I think any other last comment questions? All right. I just want to briefly talk about, since you joined, like about the breaking changes we want to introduce for this release. So this is the one PR, which is kind of less concerning, and we can definitely follow up for this. But I kind of like introduced several like mutabilities to the API on the train job side, specifically, like for pod template override, for trainer, etc. Any other high-level questions for this from you guys? Let me open it quickly.
Sorry, so I didn't check the PL, so
yeah. So I guess like the high level idea is to like we in the train job side we do have this trainer API, for example, right? And they have like the initializer API, which eventually allows us to propagate values from train job to job set right now, right? And right now these fields are mutable. We haven't really have this immutability. But in reality, they are mutable because job set doesn't support update for images, container, command, etc. Right? I just want to make sure our API is aligned, with the underlying template API.
So
Does
my
make sense?
question,
Yeah.
so
Good.
my question is, so does this change affect on suspended train job or only on unsuspended job to train job?
Yeah, I feel it should be immutable even on suspended train jobs.
Mhm.
Because even for suspended job set, we cannot update image right now. I know Kevin has an open issue to relax some of this mutability, for example, for container resources. I know he's working on, but it's still in flight. So right now there is no way for you to update container spec, even for suspended job.
So
Um,
is it job set level validation or job level validation? Which level?
it's yeah, it's a job level validation. Job level validation.
I see.
Yeah, we cannot really update. So the only mutable fields are scheduling directives, like node selectors, toleration stains when job is suspended. And I think metadata also mutable, right? Um,
Yeah, but oh, I see. So recently Kevin opened the cap, opened the
yeah,
cap. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but yeah, we cannot change the image or volume or other fields.
exactly, exactly.
Even when job is suspended.
Yes, yes. So that
Yeah.
is why I want to introduce this mutability to train job as well, right? So we kind of
Mhm.
aligned, right? Um, I think for pod template override, it's more trickier because some of those fields can be suspended. Sorry, can be mutable. And we need to, talk about which fields can be changed and which fields cannot be changed. For this, we can talk about it later.
So what
Yeah.
about all pod template fields
Yeah.
should be mutable, should be immutable
Yeah,
in
so not
this.
all of them. So because, for example, scheduling directives, like node selectors can be mutable.
Yeah.
Um, like, affinity tolerations, right? Node selectors, this can be mutable, but service account name, volumes, init containers should be immutable. Um, so we need to figure out how to, it depends on the field basically, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So any
Yeah.
questions? Yeah.
So as far as I know, so uh do does StreamJob have core API pod template API, right? Or our original pod template API.
Not the entire pod template API.
Oh,
No,
I see.
it's only like, subset, right? Because remember, like we don't, allow to specify any parameters from pod template. Um,
Yeah, basically, yeah, I agree with you. But the problem is how to inform this breaking to existing users. This is only
yeah, so that is
point.
why, yeah. So again, like I think we agreed previously, alpha feature can be, can introduce breaking changes, right?
Yeah,
So we're still in alpha phase. That is why I
yeah,
won't really want for us to prioritize this breaking changes as fast as we can. And I think we should do it before 2.2. Like,
yeah, sounds good.
any concerns, Antonio, like from your side?
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Um, so this is again this is very simple. So another one more kind of important for port template overrides. So I think I don't know Yuki, if you get a chance to check this PR, but so the idea is like we want to introduce manager fields to the template overrides. So we will understand like who is actually updating these parameters. Like, is it queue or is it user or is it another admission webhook? And the idea was to let me open the API quickly. Um, I think it's here. Yeah, so introducing manager field here. And this manager field can be used to identify who is, applying this override. whether it is KQ or it's again like another admission webhook or it's something else. Like similar to like, Kubernetes in the kube control apply has this parameter called manager, and you can see this who is updating like the configuration of the spec, right? Does make sense to you? The background between the jump to the
Yeah,
API?
yeah, I remember this program. Um, so any reason why not field of manager in manager field? As far as I know, we discussed about leveraging manager field in metadata. Uh,
Yeah,
field.
so you mean in labels directly, or what do you mean? In
No, no, no,
metadata?
no. So as far as I know, Kubernetes has a field management mechanism, and
Okay. Okay.
You mean
uh,
Yuki,
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
server side
So
apply the managed field?
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we raised that point in the discussion in the queue, the issue, the related issue in queue. And I know Thomas and Michał, they were saying it's not an option. I don't. It's been a while, so I don't remember what was the exact reason. But they were basically saying there are cases it does not work for them to rely on the managed. What's the exact name? Well, those managed fields set by server-side apply.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
Server
that
side,
no. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, server side cannot enforce to client side to use field management mechanism. They can always replace an entire field without manager and enforce to
yep.
resolve conflicts between
Mm,
managers.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I succeeded to catch up the context. As another
And
point
yeah,
is, so do we need to manage a field every in fields like
yeah. So this is another
inside pod
question. Yeah.
template, inside
Uh,
job template,
mhm.
or yeah.
So we need to figure out how we're going to use this template overrides because like with your points, ideally, like, do we want to allow for every override to have a different manager for every field, or a manager is a high-level object which controls the override? Like, because I guess I kind of propose this new API to refactor pod template override to something like template overrides, when manager is a high-level, like object, like a key in the map. And then we do have like, pod template overrides. We can have job template override if you want in the future, and then like it has the configuration under the specific manager. So the downside of this approach, what if some of those overrides will be changed in the different stage of life cycle? Like, let's say like the change job is submitted, it's been suspended, and then you know KQ wants to apply a new override. Um, like, how this gonna work? um,
Yes, good point. Actually,
right.
Q might override only non-selector, but as an external scheduler might override only tolerations tails.
Mm.
Yeah, in that case, it's challenging to manage conflict by this manager mechanism.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, introducing manager to every field will be very tricky because, I mean, even right now, our API is very messy. I don't think it's the right way how we do this, how would we define a pod template override. I think right now, like in the way that we define it, looks like, sorry, like this, right? This is the existing API structure. So we have pod template override under train job spec. And here we have the target jobs, manager metadata spec, which is very messy. And like it's very hard, to define like what is the map, right? Like how to make this field, right? And introducing like manager to every field will be even more complicated, I think, right? I think with this approach, what we can consider, one of the idea can be like the ordering, right? Now, let's say one manager can introduce multiple overrides to the single, to the same target jobs, right? And these overrides can be in the order. and we will apply this overrides in the order of the slice, right? This could be one of the idea. Another idea could be introducing timestamp, right? Which identify when this override has been applied. I think this was proposed somewhere here in this doc, right? I think kube control apply also have the timestamp of when this configuration is being applied, if I remember correctly, right? Yeah. Like I think time maybe is a good thing for us maybe also to consider in the future, right? Um, that does make sense, Yuki, to you? Like,
I think the proposed array slice option might have problem because external components and the scheduler unlimitedly append new override fields, which cause huge range of object size, right?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean by limited applying overrides?
I mean, so yeah, component A add new override item, but component B apply new item to override field, and
So yeah.
infinitely append, and this will cause about increasing object size step by step, right?
So do you mean if two different managers introduce the same overrides, you mean?
Yes. Separate manager.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think we need to do some tricky validation in this field, in this case, right? In that case, we might don't want to allow, like the same manager to apply overrides, same overrides to, to the same job somehow. Yeah. I think the validation might help us with solving this problem. I think introducing time also might be something we can consider to also like tell like at which time points this override was introduced. Yeah, but I think yeah, good.
Yeah, I think time and manager name sounds better because external component point of view, they can decide whether or not they should add new new override fields or not based on whether or not already exist another
Yeah, already existing override.
component.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, let's. I think the P0 for us is to agree on the API. Let me try to prepare the changes to the cap, and we can maybe agree on this API and then extend it, right? Because I think if we want to do it before 2.2, we kind of need to do it urgently. But the rough idea, like, does it look good, like from the high level perspective, like the idea of refactoring this to something like this?
So you mean, do you think you think you want to introduce this into the part of 2.2 release
Yes,
string?
yes. I want to have this breaking change as soon as we can.
Yeah, I agree.
Any thoughts, Antonio, from your side?
No, that makes sense. What you've said.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I know we have, we probably need to move on. Sorry, like to keep you late, but I think this is important for us to, at least agree upon before 2.2. And I think we also need to agree to remove some of the API we don't use, like Elastic, PyTorch jobs, and some of the things when we talk about numproc per node. I think we can start another thread around this, removing numproc per node API for now, from train job, and probably torch runtime. But we can think about. I will start a single, separate thread on this, because again, like I want for us to remove as more API as we can before, before more users start adopting this API, right? Because then it will be harder for us to introduce breaking changes. All right. So quickly, so I think we need to probably go. So Christian, like, do you want to go quickly over this proposal? No, we don't have a lot of time,
Can you
but
guys hear me?
yeah, we can hear you.
Yes. Yes. So I can go with the cap.
Yeah, I think it looks good overall. I think I left a few last comment to you, like around num worker per nodes.
Yes, I will update the cap once
Okay.
I'm free.
Okay. All right. Any questions from you to move forward? Like, you know, any
I
additional?
think so. The initial issue had one of the comments, like the typical use cases example.
Yep.
It was under the issue.
Yeah, yeah. In the issue, right? You said.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Uh, yes, this one.
Yeah. So what was the example you're talking about?
Oh, not this, not this. Oh, just give me one. Just give me.
Okay. Yeah, from the API perspective, like it looks very simple for XGBoost right now. We just want to introduce new field under ML policy, which allows us to automatically define XGBoost distributed parameters for Rabbit tracker that will configure the XGBoost distributed job. So the API, yeah, it looks like this. Basically, it's empty right now. We want to remove the num worker per node. We want to automatically define how many workers we have on a single node based on the container resources. Um, I think it should be fine. And I think XGBoost also supporting GPUs right now. So it's a good thing for us to, like to adopt this new way to run native XGBoost on Kubernetes. Um, right, Christian, are you here or?
Yes, I think so. It was a comment by you. You asked for use cases, and I would like
Oh
to
yeah.
like have some of the use cases.
Oh yeah. So you're talking about like we don't have a use cases when users want to dynamically configure this parameter. You're asking, right? Or
Yes.
yeah. So what I was saying, from my perspective, we should remove num proc per node and num worker per node right now from the API. So in the XGBoost plugin, you will just dynamically understand this parameter based on container resources. Um, I kind of like, again, similar to Torch, I don't think we really need to introduce this parameter to users because because we can basically, we can have this automatically being set, right?
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
um, I guess like, my, I think we just need to remove it, start without this parameter, think how it goes and get user feedback, and then, like extend it if users really need it, right?
Yes,
Um,
that makes sense.
okay. Like that's look good to you, like Antonio and Yuki, like supporting XGBoost if you have time, to implement this, if Krishna will move forward with this cap. Um,
Yeah, sounds good.
Sorry, can you clarify deprecation or PyTorch runtime?
oh yeah, you're talking about, I was thinking about, an XGBoost, we've been discussing whether we should keep num workers per node or num proc per node. Like we have the same parameter in the torch runtime right now, right? Um, so we have this API in the runtime spec, right? Called num proc per node. So this parameter, which defines how many GPUs we have on a single node.
Yeah, yeah. We discussed about this field
Yeah,
many times before. Yeah. Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was thinking about to just remove it unless users will say, "Hey, we really want to have it." Um, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's discuss about this afterward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Separately from this
Yeah.
gap. Yeah.
Okay, right. Yes, I will start a thread and we can talk about this parameter. So let's see what we can get. So I think overall it's good to a Christian. Like I think if you have, let's address this to last comment and we can move forward with the implementation. So it's
Okay.
definitely, yeah, supporting XGBoost will be super, great for us because we did support it before in XGBoost operator. Um, so I think we definitely need to have this in the next release.
Okay. I'll try my best to like create an initial implementation by mid-Feb. but I think so I'll be little caught up with other work. Like I have university tests and all.
Okay.
So I'll try to create a first implementation.
So what is your timeline? Like when you think you have time to implement the plugin, the XGBoost plugin?
Uh, I would say like towards the end of February.
Okay. So keep us posted, like because I know there are
Sure,
also, so we have also other contributors who can also jump in. I can ping them and see like in the if they're available. But otherwise, we will just move to the next release. All right.
sure.
So
Thank you.
I know we like over time, and I think there are a couple of other things we want to talk about TTLs and optimization jobs. Let me quickly maybe give you an update for TTLs. So I think yes, I still need to review your updated cap. Um, I guess any like quick questions from you want to ask here on the call before we close it?
No, like I think after you review, then uh, I may have to. First,
Okay.
I would prefer that you do it once.
What is your timeline for the implementation? Like when you have time to implement this?
Like I can implement it in this week because this week is free for me.
Okay.
So I think if you review it,
So this and next week it's free for you to work on this.
yes.
Okay, and then I guess we can prioritize review this first. And then like you can jump with the implementation then. So any other questions from you?
Um,
I think did you also review the last discussion we have on the TTLs? I think we had this in the last call.
yes.
Okay.
Accordingly, I have made all the changes in the proposal.
Okay. So you already make this change to introduce one parameter to train job and another one to the runtime, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And optionally add active deadlines to the runtime as well.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yes.
All right. So I think that makes sense. Definitely we'll take a look on this. I think for optimization job, so we started this issue just to give, like and I know over time, like if you need to drop, like feel free to drop this. We quickly just give you an idea. So we're actually planning to introduce this new CRD called optimization job, which can support like hyperparameter optimization. And we don't need to talk about it right now. We still need to, like open the proposal and talk about it. But like we want to have some sort of foundation before we jump to the GSOC so we can, the student can help us with this work. But the rough idea, we need to kind of like agree, maybe we can talk about it next week, like which project that will belong to. like like are we going to use Katib name, or are we going to use a new name, or we're going to have a new project for this kind of, Kubernetes native CRD for HPO? So at some point we need to talk about these topics with the community.
Okay.
I think for you, Anish, like it would be good if you can start to explore like what Katib has right now, if you want to help. And maybe, like trying to understand, like, how controllers works, what kind of changes might be required, like how do we manage algorithms and the suggestion. Um, so maybe it's a good step for you to explore all of this, to deeply understand the Katib architecture. Um,
Uh, okay, yeah, I went through the code base, and so the main problem is like I pinged you regarding this as well, right? So like once we introduce the CRD on the top of the current like state in the Catib project, so let's say somehow it will call the suggestion service to get that hyper parameters, and suggestion object is created by experiment controller, and experiment controller will only react when there is experiment ratios, right? So if
yep.
we abstract this CRD, so what should be the designs? Either we need to change that custom ratios internally same as experiment CR, and the rest flow will be same like the current flow, or
Yep.
we need to decouple the controller part, all the things related to the suggestion to the new controller, which is optimizations of controller.
Yep. So
So
actually, yeah, everything will be rebuilt from scratch. So we need to redesign all the controllers from scratch, and we need to really understand, what controllers we need and what we should, reuse. Like we're not gonna have experiments. I don't know if you're gonna have suggestion CRD, like trial CRD. We need to rethink on all of this. And that is why, like I was saying, like we need to, think with, Akshay and other folks to build a foundation. Uh, and if
okay,
you,
okay,
Anish, can
okay.
help us, and probably like actually, do you want to say something on this, like front, since you're here, like from your perspective, like does make sense? Um,
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
yeah.
yes, go ahead.
yeah, please actually sorry. I think Anish, probably I'll message you. I see your DM. Yeah, I think
Mm.
as Andre mentioned, I think we should try to redesign the organization CRD from the foundations what we have with Katib. So probably we can sync offline.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So for now, again, like my suggestion to you, like, Anish, like just like understand like the architecture deeply, especially like how we manage algorithm service, what can be simplified there, and then you can help us with the design if you want to jump in to help for this, for the GSOC project. And again, like, as in the GSOC, you still need to submit a proposal after we still don't know like how many projects will get accepted, under Kubeflow organization. But if this project will get accepted, like you need to submit a proposal, like we have this instruction on the Kubeflow website for you to follow for the GSOC.
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
aware of that. Aware of that.
All right. Um,
And yeah, this is
yeah.
like, I don't know it is important or not. So while I was installing the Katib whole project, so I need to go back to the code base to see the root path. So that's the reason I created this simple issue.
Yep.
So I'm not sure it is relevant or not.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the UI can be accessible only in Katib because this is for Kubeflow dashboard. We did this before. Yep. We
Okay.
don't want to have, this is just because I framed it in the central dashboard. This is why we have
Mhm.
this slash Katib subpath. Yeah. Um, that's right.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
So yeah, any other questions?
No, from my
All
side.
right. All right, great. So let's definitely follow up, like for Akash again, like for GPU runner fix, let's work on this as well. So I think that so the optimization job discussion is important. I think we need to figure out, as a community, how this project will move forward. Whether we, standardize all those batch related activities under, some umbrella, or I don't know. We can propose some ideas to the community to discuss it. Um, all right. So I know we like 10 minutes over time. Any last questions, comments? Yakushi, go ahead.
Yeah, hello everyone. So yeah, in the Qflow Trainer V2 version 2.2 release, I saw that there is no issue open for support for trainer tensor caching in data cache. So is it like already resolved or are we gonna
Oh yeah,
open
yeah,
for
yeah.
it?
It's a good point. So actually, I think you need to create the tensor caching issue, right? The one that we discussed.
Yeah, I think we haven't created the issue for that. Then I think I'll create.
Yeah, I was actually working on the hem chart configuration for data cache, and then there's one more like add support for deploying cluster training runtime via Helm charts, in which I also included the torch, like the runtime parts. So I would like to work on that. Sure.
Yeah, I think that'll be super helpful. Like if you can help, like this is more kind of we want to support, caching the tensors on the cache. I think there are, it's the idea is like we want to not only cache the Parquet file but also tensors, and we want to do some, pre-processing and tokenization, and we can definitely talk about it more in the issue. But if you want to help, that would be really great with this. All right, so just don't
Thank you.
keep like, yeah. Any other questions? All right, thanks everyone for your time. A great discussion. Super exciting to move forward with this. I think we have like a lot of really, innovative work in this release. So, and a lot of innovation happening on the various areas. So let's definitely follow up and target the end of Feb and mid-March as the final release. So hopefully, before KubeCon, we definitely can announce this to the 2 release with a lot of really great enhancement for Kubernetes native orchestration. So thanks everyone. See you soon. See you everyone.
Thank you.